A 22% brightness surge in a single second. A number that shouldn't exist in nature, and yet here it is written quietly in the dark. And you, observer, arrived at the exact moment this mystery unfolded, as if the cosmos meant for you to hear it. What if the third interstellar visitor is doing something even Oumuamua never did? What are the odds an object on a hyperbolic path would accelerate where no force should be? A fragment of another star gliding through the black carrying silence like a message. Stay a while, traveller. Let's drift through the quiet before sleep finds you. The first trace of 3-Eye Atlas appeared as a narrow incision of movement across an ordinary field of stars. It did not curl like a comet nor hesitate like an asteroid. Instead, it drew a single, unwavering line through the solar system, quiet and clean, almost contemplative. In that smoothness, the universe whispered again, offering not spectacle but precision. And in the soft hum of the observatory, the silence felt almost deliberate. Across a few measured minutes, the object held its course with a calm that invited attention. No drift, no meandering, only a steady passage that looked older than the planets it passed. Later astronomers would call it the third interstellar visitor, though titles can only hint at what distance truly means. What arrived here was a mountain in motion, a cold mass moving faster than the mind comfortably holds. At such speed, the space between Earth and the Moon becomes a brief and passing thought, carried on a path untouched by noise. Its magnitude encouraged a slower breath. A body 6 to 9 miles wide, drifting with the grace of something that had practiced silence for ages. Even the sun's gravity, powerful enough to sculpt orbits into ellipses, barely touched it. Instead of bowing inward, the object moved along a hyperbolic escape path, the mathematical mark of a traveller not born of our star. Observatories across continents confirmed the same gentle defiance. The numbers whispered the same truth in different languages of light. Its incoming direction pointed toward Pegasus, through a region where dust and old starlight gather like slow-moving fog. Across that quiet corridor, Atlas glided without disturbance, as though carried by a memory rather than force. Once its origin revealed itself as interstellar attention shifted from trajectory to composition. What kind of matter could persist through the long cold between suns? What story could such a fragment hold? The first readings hesitated, as though unsure which familiar category to place upon it. It was neither simple ice nor ordinary stone. Its faint reflection suggested a muted metallic grain softened by dust that had travelled for unimaginable distances. Telescopes captured a slow rotation, steady and unhurried, completing one turn every 11 hours. A mountain turning like a thought that refuses to grow loud. Silence is the language of distant worlds, and this object spoke in its dialect with unusual clarity, tracing its own serenity across the heliosphere. Natural comets rarely reach such size, and even when they do, time wears them thin. Hale-Bopp, vast and radiant in 1997, dwarfed it, yes, but belonged to the familiar outskirts of our own system. To witness something of comparable scale from another star is to meet a kind of cosmic echo, a presence shaped by forces we may never touch. The probability of such an arrival is small enough to feel like a whisper saved for particular nights. Spectroscopic readings added another soft layer of mystery. There was no sign of vapour rising from its surface, no volatile jets that usually betray the heart of a comet. Instead, faint traces of nickel, iron and silicates lingered in the data, the kind of materials forged inside deeper planetary crusts. If the measurements hold 3-Eye Atlas, might be the cooled interior of a broken world, a remnant core wandering because the structure that held it once has long since dissolved. Or perhaps it came from something built, not grown. Listener, in truth, the cosmos offers questions more often than answers, and it is all right to not know. Attempts to trace its journey backward dissolved into uncertainty. Simulations held shape for 10 or so light years before dissolving into mathematical haze. Beyond that, its origin faded the way the wake of a distant vessel disappears when the sea grows still. All we can say with confidence is that it entered from the galactic disk, a region where stars, dust and perhaps life gather in quiet abundance. Coincidence, perhaps, yet coincidence often carries a soft rhythm when written across millions of years. Some observers noticed that its brightness and mass did not quite align. Too dark for a typical icy body. Too reflective for common rock. Its surface appeared smoother than expected, less fractured, almost layered, as though shaped by even pressure across ages rather than by collisions. Its rotation remained evenly balanced, its light steady across each turn. Patterns like these do not confirm intention, but they do leave room for reflection. Science remained composed. The data is faint distance immense, and noise always waits behind every signal. 1,000 natural processes can mimic what feels extraordinary. And yet a quiet unease lingered at the edges of the observations. The object offered no dust trail, no tail, no brightening at perihelion. It behaved as though the sun's warmth were merely another passing moment rather than a force of transformation. It moved with a stillness that felt ancient. Each new stream of numbers revealed another facet of its calm. Velocity, inclination, albedo, they scrolled across screens like steady breaths. These were not dramatic signatures, but quiet ones, and sometimes quiet data holds the deepest presence. If nature carved this object, then its forge was patient. If something else shaped it, that maker might be long forgotten. Tonight, the universe holds that silence gently. When the final plots appeared, the object's path revealed itself not as wandering motion, but as a clean arc written across the solar system. Comets follow loops, asteroids follow ellipses, but this line belonged to the long-distance geometry of escape. From Pegasus toward Lyra, two ancient constellations linked by the simplest of curves, a movement so refined that even caution allowed a pause to breathe. In celestial mechanics, beauty is often the residue of precision. To sustain such speed nearly 130,000 miles per hour requires events not born of small histories. A supernova could send fragments outward with such force, a collision of worlds perhaps, or even the long-slow calculus of a distant civilization releasing something into the dark. Whatever the truth, the object moves without fracture, steady and complete, as though carrying the quiet memory of its beginning. The sky does not rush to speak. It offers motion, reflection, and the soft knowledge that some stories arrive without explanation. Tonight the stars will keep their silence. The closer astronomers studied the movement of 3i Atlas, the more its path resembled a thought held steady across time. It did not falter around the sun nor quiver at the edges of planetary influence. Instead, it advanced with a confidence that felt almost restful, as though gravity itself were only a gentle reminder rather than a command. In this quiet persistence, the object revealed something subtle about the nature of drifting worlds. Motion, when uninterrupted, becomes a form of memory. Its hyperbolic arc traced a single gesture across the solar system, smooth, uninterrupted, and graceful. Such a curve carries an identity all its own. Most visitors born of our star are bound to return pulled endlessly into repeating orbits. But an object on a hyperbolic path is a guest passing through untouched by obligation. The sun bends its course only slightly before releasing it into deeper cold. Here was a wanderer governed not by cycles but by departure, gliding along a trajectory that pointed outward long before we saw it. Plots of its movement showed no tremors, no deviations, only a line, so even that many scientists paused before accepting it. Nature tends toward complexity. Even comets known to be serene carry small irregularities in their arcs. But this object's journey felt different, closer to a clean equation than a turbulent history. The solar wind brushed it lightly, yet its orientation did not waver. The warmth of the sun should have nudged its surface, yet the numbers revealed no measurable change. Silence in data can be a kind of eloquence. As the object sailed past the orbit of Neptune, its precision remained unchanged. Far from the inner noise of solar radiation, it drifted as though tracing a path remembered long before it reached our awareness. The curve it carved was neither hurried nor hesitant. It was a slow exhale across the map of the system, a movement that asked us to look not for intention, but for harmony in distant physics. Sometimes the absence of disruption is its own form of wonder. When it reached the region between Mars and Earth, where gravitational tides grow more intricate, the object still held its line. Simulations showed it passing through the orbital lanes without any sign of chaos. No jittering rotation, no shedding dust, no brightening of surface ice. Instead, it crossed the sun's inner glow with a composure rarely seen among interstellar debris. Its calmness became part of its identity, as if the universe had chosen to express stability through a drifting mountain. From that point onward, every observatory tracked its steps with quiet care. Each night, new measurements arrived, each confirming the same unbroken rhythm. As the days grew into weeks, the object approached perihelion, the moment when its path would take it nearest to the sun. Natural bodies often flare in this region, awakened by heat. Yet predictions suggested that 3i Atlas would remain steady, carrying the same reflective hush it possessed in deep space. The sun would brighten, but the object's voice would remain soft. At perihelion itself, a remarkable alignment occurred. The sun's glare hid the object at the very moment of closest passage, placing it behind a light too intense for even the most sensitive senses. For days it vanished into radiance. Such alignments, though explainable through orbital mechanics, carry a meditative symmetry. The brightest body in our sky became a curtain, and behind it a piece of another star slipped by unseen. In the language of astronomy, disappearance can be a form of presence. During this silence, scientists returned to the numbers that had shaped their understanding of the visitor. Its eccentricity greater than 1 confirmed a long journey from outside the sun's influence. Its inclination traced a path tilted gently against the plane of the planets. Its velocity preserved momentum from a history long predating the solar system's current arrangement. Facts like these anchor mystery, offering the comfort of measurable truths within an ocean of possibility. When 3i Atlas emerged from behind the sun, it appeared unchanged. No plume of dust trailed it. No alteration in spin was detected. Its brightness neither flared nor faded dramatically. Instead, it resumed its steady outward motion, as if continuing a sentence paused only briefly. The simplicity of this behaviour was its own quiet revelation. In a cosmos known for violent thermal shifts and chaotic resonance, here was an object choosing stillness as its signature. As it glided past Earth's orbit, telescopes captured the soft glint of light scattered across its surface. The return was faint, requiring long exposures and patience. But even in the dimmest frames, the same gentle reflection appeared something neither wholly rocky nor entirely icy. The object seemed wrapped in a coat of fine-grained material old enough to bear the faint imprint of another sun's early days. To look at such a reflection was to glimpse a distant morning still preserved within matter. The study of its rotation deepened the quiet intrigue. The period remained consistent, untroubled by solar heating. Many natural bodies, even tranquil ones, wobble under uneven warming. But 3 Atlas held its balance. The effect was not dramatic. It was subtle, measured in tiny increments of repeating rhythm. Yet in that consistency, scientists sensed a kind of endurance, a willingness to maintain form across the long geography of space. As data accumulated, curiosity softened into contemplation. The object revealed itself not through spectacle, but through restraint. Every observation spoke of continuity, motion without haste, presence without demand. Some researchers described it as a reminder that not all discoveries arrive with noise. Some teach instead through calm, encouraging us to listen more carefully to the spaces between measurements. Silence, after all, is where the universe often leaves its gentlest truths. Even the direction of its journey inspired reflection. From Pegasus toward Lyra, the motion traced a subtle arc between constellations long associated with memory and music. Human cultures once carved stories into these shapes. Now an interstellar traveller drew a line through them, reminding us that old symbols still move beneath new science. The sky becomes a bridge between past and present when a distant object crosses its familiar patterns. One final detail added depth to the quiet the object would never return. Its speed ensured that its path through the solar system was a single visit, brief on cosmic scales, yet meaningful in human thought. When it departed, it would continue into darkness unchanged, carrying no imprint of the worlds it passed. And perhaps that is the most tranquil truth of all, that some things come not to alter, but simply to remind. Tonight the universe keeps its silence, and that silence feels complete. As threes. Atlas drifted farther inward, attention slowly shifted from its movement to the substance of its body. Motion can tell a story, but matter remembers where motion forgets. The light it reflected was dim yet steady, offering a muted spectrum, neither sharp like metal, nor bright like fresh ice. Something older lived on its surface, a dusting from another star's beginning. In astronomy, even faint light becomes a kind of handwriting. Spectroscopy revealed only fragments of a composition, whispers of iron, suggestions of nickel grains of silicate too subtle to name with certainty. These traces felt like fossils of heat long extinguished. They hinted at deeper layers, perhaps once part of a planetary crust touched by warmth and pressure before drifting into the dark. A fragment of worldhood moving through the solar wind, carrying the memory of conditions we may never reconstruct fully. The absence of volatiles was striking. Most comets reveal themselves through breathing jets of vapour, pushed outward as the sun warms their surface. But 3 Atlas exhaled nothing. No plume, no halo, no soft tail rising behind it. Its stillness in light was matched by stillness in chemistry. Even as sunlight touched it, the object held its composure. At a glance, it appeared asleep. In truth, it simply refused to wake. This restraint raised quiet curiosity. A body born icy should respond to heat. A rocky one should show a different pattern of reflection. Yet 3i Atlas seemed to exist between categories its identity held in a gentle ambiguity. Nature often writes hybrids, but this one carried its mixture with unusual balance, as if erosion, and time had smoothed away the extremes. In the language of celestial bodies, such balance is not common, but neither is it impossible. Observatories tracked small changes across multiple nights, watching for shifts in brightness that might reveal rotation or irregular surfaces. The light rose and fell, but softly, without abrupt spikes or shadows. This suggested a shape not wildly elongated, not jagged, but rounded in a patient ancient way, a world's smoothed form sculpted more by drifting through interstellar dust than by violent encounters. The universe sometimes erases roughness through unimaginable durations. Its interior composition remained unknowable, but hints formed slowly. The density inferred from its motion suggested something sturdier than a loose agglomeration of frost and rubble. Its structure resisted disruption, surviving both deep cold and the warmth of perihelion without shedding fragments. Such resilience is the province of bodies that cooled deeply, perhaps once part of a mantle or core. Silence in this case became evidence. When researchers compared its reflective signature to known objects, no perfect match appeared. Some comets echoed parts of the spectrum. Some asteroids mirrored others. But 3i Atlas rested between categories, a reminder that origins beyond our star need not mimic our catalogues. The universe writes its own taxonomy, and our labels often lag behind the complexity of creation. As attention deepened, scientists revisited models of how interstellar fragments form. Some are broken from planets during ancient collisions. Others peel away from moon-like bodies after tidal stress. Some freeze into solidity in the quiet outskirts of systems where sunlight is only a memory. If 3 Atlas came from such a place, its journey might span thousands of rotations of our sun, carrying the geology of a forgotten world through space. What is remarkable is not simply that it survived, but how gently it moved despite that survival. The surface showed no bright scars, no violent signatures of recent impacts. Instead, it appeared uniform, as though wrapped in a layer of fine dust that settled across eons. That dust could be the record of a long passage through the interstellar medium, collecting particles too small to see, but numerous enough to soften an entire world. The presence of silicates strengthened this idea. Silicate grains drift between stars like seeds carried by faint winds. When they settle on an object, they can alter the way it reflects light, shifting its colour in ways that speak of distance rather than origin. Thus, every photon bouncing from 3i Atlas may have touched more than one star during its life. Light becomes a traveller of its own, bearing histories we only glimpse through the spectrum it paints. Meanwhile, the object's temperature changed gradually as it moved through sunlight. Instruments tracked this warming, expecting some transformation, cracking out, gassing subtle release. None appeared. Instead, the surface absorbed and radiated heat without drama. It responded as a body hardened long ago, no longer carrying fragile ices near its exterior. Simplicity in thermal behaviour is often a sign of ancient endurance. Even so, its faint glow held a certain softness, as though the material were not perfectly reflective but brushed with microstructures that diffused light into gentle gradients. Such textures can arise when matter cools slowly in sheltered environments, far from strong stellar fields. A world that cooled under a distant sun might look exactly like this, quiet, muted, and content to let time settle over it. Theories evolved with each new measurement. Some proposed that the body was once part of a larger planet fractured by tides near a massive star. Others imagined it forming at the cold edge of another solar system, where dust gathered slowly into aggregates before drifting outward. Each possibility remained plausible yet incomplete. In astronomy, uncertainty is not failure, it is openness. One detail remained consistent across all observations: the object behaved with extraordinary stability. Its rotation did not accelerate or slow, its brightness did not burst or fade sharply. It held itself together across every shift of distance and temperature. Stability, when carried across such vast scales, becomes an emblem of patience. Objects that survive the long dark do so by yielding very little to change. This steadiness offered comfort. In a sky filled with dynamic forces, here was something that chose calm. Something that let the sun pass over it without reaction. Something that drifted through our system in the same quiet it carried from its origin. Such presence reminds us that not all cosmic stories are written through collision or heat. Some are written through endurance, and as scientists continued to examine the spectrum of its light, the same truth echoed softly. There is beauty in the unchanging. There is meaning in what resists interpretation. Tonight the universe speaks through that simplicity, a gentle reminder that some mysteries need only to be witnessed, not solved. As the weeks passed and 3i Atlas sailed deeper into the inner system, attention turned again to its route through space. Trajectory is more than motion. It is a quiet record of forces acting across unimaginable time. And in the case of this visitor, every calculation led to the same reflection: the path was too gentle to feel accidental, too measured to feel hurried. It carried itself with a serenity that suggested an origin untroubled by recent change, like a drifting note held across cosmic distance. Astronomers watched how gravity shaped its arc. The sun drew it inward, but only slightly. Unlike objects born here which loop back in obedient ellipses, this one merely dipped and continued outward. The deflection was small, graceful, unforced. Its eccentricity confirmed what its motion already implied: it was a transient presence, bound to no star, following the geometry of escape that began long before it met our light. Even this simple truth felt contemplative, a reminder that the universe writes long stories in short lines. Its approach through the planetary lanes revealed another layer of quiet precision. Between Mars and Earth, the gravitational environment becomes more intricate, shaped by the competing pulls of multiple bodies. Many visitors twitch or wobble under these influences. Yet 3i Atlas drifted through this region as though passing over still water. No sudden adjustments, no disturbances in its rhythm. Its movement remained a steady exhale, following a curve that had been set ages before any planet was named. Simulations recreated its journey from the outer reaches inward. Each model displayed the same calmer line, a path that neither spiraled inward nor scattered outward in fragments. This consistency softened the scientific discourse, shifting the tone from mystery to meditation. It reminded researchers that sometimes the most profound phenomena are not the ones that break expectations, but the ones that reveal how subtle the universe can be when it chooses stillness over spectacle. One detail drew particular interest: the tilt of its trajectory. Slightly inclined against the plane of the solar system, it moved as though honouring its own frame of reference rather than adapting to ours. This inclination was not extreme, but gentle, carrying the quiet suggestion of a distant birthplace. In celestial mechanics, tilts like this act as signatures. They whisper of ancient collisions, long migrations, or the soft unfolding of gravitational tides in distant regions of the galaxy. Here the whisper was enough. The object's speed remained steady as well. Nearly 130,000 miles per hour of velocity inherited, not gained. No acceleration from jets, no subtle push from internal forces, just the preserved momentum of a long voyage. This constancy made the object predictable, yet no less captivating. Stability in this context became a form of grace. It showed that not all things arriving from beyond need to announce themselves. Some merely pass through, leaving a line of quiet behind them. Researchers noted how its motion aligned with two constellations often linked in ancient stories, Pegasus and Lyra. While science does not rely on symbolism, many found a gentle resonance in the idea that a traveller between stars would cross two regions historically tied to flight and music. The sky, after all, has always been a tapestry onto which humanity projects meaning, and here the arc of a distant world wove itself through old patterns without seeking attention. At the midpoint of its journey through the inner system, the sun momentarily hid the object from view. The glare erased all signals, reducing measurements to silence. Instead of frustration, the moment invited reflection. The brightest star in our sky had placed itself between us and a visitor from beyond, creating a natural pause. In astronomy, such moments are reminders that observation is not constant. It breathes. There are times for looking outward and times for resting in the dark. When 3 Atlas emerged from that radiance, it resumed its path without alteration. No sudden shift of brightness, no unexpected rotation, no evidence of thermal reaction. This return carried its own softness. It felt like watching a thought reappear after drifting behind memory. The object's re-emergence affirmed a principle, as old as the cosmos continuity is its own quiet revelation. As it moved farther from the sun, the object entered regions where solar wind grows more diffuse. Here, many bodies slow or shed material. But 3i Atlas maintained both speed and form. Its steadiness became a kind of anchor for scientific minds, proof that not all interstellar debris arrives chaotic or fragile. Some carry endurance, like a quiet inheritance from places we cannot yet imagine. The shape of its outbound trajectory mirrored its inbound arc, smooth, calm, composed. This symmetry suggested that whatever forces shaped its origin had also shaped its resilience. The solar system touched it only lightly, altering neither its rhythm nor its direction. In this respect, the visitor behaved like a thought brushing past awareness, before drifting back into a deeper space of possibility. As calculations projected its future, one truth became clear: it would never return. The sun would not hold it. The planets would not redirect it. It would continue into the long night past the heliosphere, leaving only a line drawn across our records and a memory of its stillness. Some objects end their stories in heat or collision. Others, like this one, complete their passage without disturbance, carrying their mystery with them. And perhaps that is the quiet beauty of trajectories. They do not demand meaning. They reveal motion shaped by forces older than language, older than our understanding of time. To follow such a path is to witness a conversation between gravity and distance, spoken softly across light years. Tonight the universe rests within that simplicity, holding its silence gently once more. The deeper scientists studied the faint reflection from 3i Atlas, the more they understood how much a small shimmer can reveal. Light does not lie. It carries the quiet truth of surfaces across unimaginable distance. The photons bouncing from this object had travelled from the sun, touched a world shaped under another star, and returned to our instruments as softened echoes. In every wavelength, a fragment of its long journey lingered. Brightness curves were the first clues. Most bodies brighten, and dim in uneven intervals, their irregular shapes scattering light in unpredictable rhythms. But the softness of 3i Atlas's fluctuations suggested a form not sharply angular, not deeply fractured. Instead, the changes in brightness flowed like breath-measured, calm, steady. From peak to valley, the intervals revealed a rotation neither hurried nor strained. Its 33,000-second turn felt almost meditative, the pace of a world unhurried by heat, or collision. Astronomers plotted these curves night after night, finding a consistency that whispered of age. Objects shaped recently by impact show jagged signatures. Younger surfaces catch sunlight unevenly, scattering it in sharp glints. But here light returned as though from an object worn smooth by time, softened by drift, enveloped in dust from journeys that predate human memory. Even without seeing the object directly, scientists could sense its patience. Colour analysis added depth to that patience. The object reflected a muted palette, neither the bright white of young ice nor the deep black of carbon-heavy rock. Instead, its tone rested gently between, suggesting a surface brushed by silicate dust and metals cooled long ago. This intermediate colour is sometimes found on bodies that have travelled far beyond their birthplace, collecting microscopic grains, like memories gathered across the galaxy. Light in this sense became a form of remembrance. Thermal readings followed. As sunlight warmed the object, researchers expected a small reaction, subtle outgassing, a faint plume, a temporary brightening. But the curve of its temperature rose predictably and fell predictably, with no accompanying change in composition. This behaviour revealed a surface hardened by distance, stripped of volatile materials, capable of sudden release. The object responded to heat with composure, the way ancient stone absorbs warmth, only to release it slowly into the surrounding dark. This composure deepened when researchers compared it to known interstellar visitors. Oumuamua, the first, had displayed erratic brightness shifts and unanticipated acceleration. Borisov II behaved more like a comet shedding material in sunlight. But 3 Atlas held neither restlessness nor volatility. Instead, it reflected the sky with a silence that set it apart. It was neither the restless messenger nor the dissolving wanderer. It was something calmer, a world-sized fragment unwavering in its quiet. The absence of a coma, the glowing halo that usually surrounds icy visitors, became one of the most telling qualities. A coma forms when sunlight vaporizes surface ices, scattering gas and dust into surrounding space. But the space around 3I Atlas remained undisturbed. Even under magnification, the region near the object showed only the void itself. This absence did not speak of emptiness. It spoke of endurance. The object had shed its fragile layers long before arriving here. Polarization studies supported this understanding. When light scatters from rough surfaces or airy comas, it acquires distinct polarization patterns. But the measurements gathered from 3I Atlas suggested scattering from a denser, more unified surface. This did not reveal composition directly, but it reinforced the image forming in scientific minds: a body forged under pressure, cooled in darkness, preserved through eons, and now illuminated only briefly by our star. Even subtle irregularities in rotational light curves told a story of texture. Slight dips hinted at regions of darker material patches, where dust thickened or minerals absorbed more light. These were not signs of disruption, but the gentle diversity of a natural surface shaped by time rather than violence. In astronomy, such minor imperfections are often the fingerprints of age. Each night telescopes followed its drift and the patterns remained stable. No sudden flares, no shifts in rhythm. Even small deviations found simple explanations. Instrument noise, atmospheric distortion, the delicate dance of light across space. The object itself remained a constant presence, reflecting the sun with the calm of something that had survived far harsher environments than ours. Stability became its quiet signature. As days folded into weeks, the reflection revealed one final truth: light is both messenger and mirror. By studying the glow returning from 3I Atlas, astronomers found themselves reflecting on distance, on endurance, on the ways material carries memory. The object gave no declaration, no dramatic change, no unravelling of hidden chemistry. It simply continued to drift, offering light as its only voice. And perhaps that is enough. Not every visitor must reveal a secret. Some come to remind us that even in vastness, simplicity persists. Even in cold, light endures. Even in silence, there is meaning. Tonight, the stars hold their quiet, and the reflection of a distant fragment moves gently across their patient canvas. As 3I Atlas continued its passage, inward attention shifted toward a deeper question. What forces had shaped its path long before it reached our sun? Every object carries a record of the influences that guided it. The slow pull of distant stars, the faint tides of molecular clouds, the echoes of collisions long dissolved into dust. To read these forces is to read the universe in its gentlest handwriting. And with this visitor, the handwriting felt unusually precise. The sun's gravity welcomed it, but only lightly. A typical comet bends sharply around our star, pulled into a tight arc before drifting outward once more. 3i Vistatlas bent only slightly, gliding through the inner system as though following a route practiced across centuries. Its hyperbolic path spoke of a beginning far beyond our reach, shaped not by the sun but by something older that had set it free. Gravity in this case was not a sculptor but a soft invitation. Scientists mapped the object's inbound speed and realized it was neither excessive nor timid. It moved with the calm velocity of something that had travelled undisturbed through interstellar space, retaining momentum without gaining or losing energy from internal reactions. No signs of thrust, no anomalies of angular momentum, no irregularities in spin. Its motion carried the quiet confidence of an object shaped by natural forces too distant for us to witness. When researchers considered how interstellar bodies form, several possibilities emerged, each one gentle and patient. Some are fragments of planets that fractured under tidal stress near massive stars. Others drift outward, after the calm collapse of protoplanetary disks slowly escaping the gravity of their parent suns. Still others may be relics from ancient collisions tossed into space with just enough velocity to cross the void. If 3i Atlas was one of these, it carried the long memory of that event in every mile of its drift. The object's alignment with our system's plane added another soft layer of meaning. It did not arrive at a steep angle the way some interstellar wanderers do. Instead, it approached on a path gently tilted relative to the orbits of the planets, almost parallel to the disk of the solar system. This inclination is subtle, yet telling. It suggests that the forces that released it acted not violently, but through slow, orderly unfolding, perhaps the gravitational breaching of a distant star cluster, or the quiet reshaping of orbits in a densely populated stellar nursery. Its interaction with the solar wind offered another quiet lesson. As charged particles flowed outward from the sun, they brushed the object with delicate pressure. Many small bodies respond through rotation changes or tiny shifts in trajectory. But 3i Atlas remained steadfast, its spin unaltered, its arc unbroken. This resilience indicated a density and structure not easily disturbed, a body that had learned to exist without yielding to every subtle push of the cosmos. Dust models suggested that the object may have passed through several interstellar clouds during its long journey. Such clouds, barely visible except through faint absorption lines, can gently erode surfaces or deposit thin layers of material. Yet the readings from 3i Atlas revealed neither pronounced erosion nor fresh accumulation. The balance between these possibilities created a portrait of long-term stability, as though the object had drifted through regions calm enough to preserve its form. One of the most intriguing signs came from the absence of charge buildup. Many bodies travelling through magnetized space accumulate electrical potentials on their surfaces. These charges can influence fine dust behaviour or create tiny jets when encountering solar wind. But 3i Atlas showed no such electrical interactions. It drifted through the magnetic fields of the heliosphere without noticeable response, suggesting a composition that does not easily retain surface charge, another whisper of its distant origin. Astronomers also studied its angular momentum. Rotational states often carry clues about past collisions or close encounters. But the rotation of 3i Atlas displayed an uncommon purity, no tumbling, no precession, no signs of past disruptions. Its axis held steady, as though shaped by processes slow enough to polish instability away. To rotate so calmly across the gulf of space is itself a form of endurance. Even the gravitational tides from Jupiter, strong enough to reshape the orbits of countless comets, barely touched the object. Models showed only the faintest deflection, as it passed near the great planet's sphere of influence. This subtlety reinforced a simple truth: the object's energy was not earned here. It was ancient, inherited, preserved. Across distances, few objects survive intact. scientists began to see the visitor less as a disruption and more as a reminder. The galaxy is full of slow-motion stars circling their centres, planets gliding through ellipses, dust drifting between them. Most of these movements are too gradual to perceive in a human lifetime, but an interstellar object passing through our system brings that long choreography into focus. It becomes a visible participant in the unseen dance, a point of reference for forces that typically unfold in silence. Through this lens, 3I Atlas became something more than a spectroscopic puzzle. It became an expression of the galaxy's quiet patience. Every rotation, every reflection, every unbent mile of its trajectory spoke of the beauty of stability across impossible time. Its preservation was not miraculous but instructive. It showed that in the grand architecture of the cosmos, endurance is often shaped not by violence, but by gentle equilibrium. As the object continued outward, slipping into regions where sunlight thinned and shadows lengthened, the study of forces gave way to reflection. The same gravity that holds planets in their orbits had touched this visitor only briefly. The same solar wind that sculpts comet tails had left it unchanged. The same electromagnetic fields that stirred dust into motion had passed through it quietly. Its journey through the heliosphere was not a transformation, it was a pause. And in that pause, a soft truth revealed itself: not everything that enters our sky arrives to teach through spectacle. Some reminders travel in silence, shaped by forces that prefer to remain unseen. Tonight the universe holds that truth, gently letting the quiet speak. As 3I Atlas drifted past its closest approach to the Sun, astronomers returned to the question that had lingered from the beginning. Where did this fragment truly come from? Origin in astronomy is rarely a point on a map. It is a slow accumulation of conditions, pressures, and histories woven together across cosmic time. An object like this does not simply appear. It is shaped, released, and carried by forces that unfold long before any instrument is built to witness them. The incoming vector of the object pointed toward Pegasus, a region rich with old stars, scattered dust, and long-settled gravitational stories. This direction invites countless possibilities. It could have been born near a sun-like star and gently pushed outward by cumulative tidal forces. It might have broken free after a planetary collision in a distant system, fragments cooling slowly as they drifted into interstellar night. Or it may have formed in the quiet outskirts of a stellar nursery where faint gravity allows objects to slip away more easily than memory. Simulations attempted to retrace the object's history, but even the most precise models dissolved after several light years. The further back its path was projected, the less defined it became, until eventually the motion blurred into mathematical fog. This uncertainty is not a failure. It is a reminder that the galaxy is too vast and interstellar space too gentle to leave clear footprints. The path fades, the path softens, and the silence between stars becomes the only reliable witness. Still, clues lingered in the object's nature. Its density suggested a world that once felt pressure, a body shaped under forces strong enough to bind minerals into steadiness. Its hardened surface hinted at time spent drifting through cold regions, where even heat becomes memory. Objects born of violence rarely look this calm. Objects shaped by slow conditions, by gentle orbits and long cooling, carry the steadiness that 3I Atlas displayed so consistently. The faint metallic tones in its spectrum offered another whisper. Nickel and iron, even in small amounts, speak of formation within deeper planetary layers, or of condensation in warm protoplanetary disks. Such elements arise not in chaotic clouds, but in environments where temperature gradients are stable enough to refine materials. If the object carries these minerals in its body, then somewhere long ago it belonged to a world that knew warmth pressure and slow geologic breath. Yet the absence of volatiles complicates the story. A body born far from a star would possess ices that sublime in sunlight. A body born near a star might lose them, but usually shows scars of heating or fragmentation. But 3I Atlas showed neither. Its stability suggested that whatever processes stripped its ices occurred ages ago, long before it arrived here. Perhaps erosion in interstellar space slowly lifted away more delicate material, leaving only the resilient core. Some scientists proposed that the object may have drifted through the Oort cloud of another star, where gravitational tides from passing suns can gently nudge fragments outward. Over millions of years, such nudges can accumulate into escape velocity. In these outskirts of stellar influence, countless icy bodies wander in slow orbits, waiting for rare alignments that set them free. If 3I Atlas departed from such a region, its calm would reflect those long, gradual forces rather than abrupt ones. Others suggested that the object could be a survivor of a disrupted planetary system, one whose sun burned out, collapsed, or scattered its worlds through dynamic interaction. When stars die or migrate within clusters, their gravitational fields reshape everything around them. Worlds are thrown inward or flung outward. Fragments cool and drift. Some journeys end in collision, others continue across the silent dark. 3I Atlas may simply be one of these ancient witnesses to stellar evolution. The thought that it might have travelled for thousands of orbits of our sun, and perhaps millions of its own, carried a quiet wonder. Time erases most memories, but matter can hold echoes longer than light. In this drifting fragment lay the imprint of the region, where it cooled the influence of the fields that shaped it and the silence of the void it crossed. The galaxy becomes a historian in such moments, recording ages through the endurance of small wandering worlds. Its rotation steady across every measurement offered another clue. Bodies that form in turbulent settings often spin in chaotic patterns. But 3I Atlas rotated with consistency, as though born in calm conditions where early collisions were rare or gentle. It is possible that the object once belonged to a family of bodies in a stable system, each one cooling, solidifying and tracing simple orbits before being released into the interstellar stream. As telescopes continued gathering data, one truth crystallized gently: origin is often a mosaic, not a single event. 3I Atlas may have formed as one thing, been reshaped as another, and drifted long enough to become something else entirely. It is the nature of cosmic time to blend beginnings and endings until they differ only by perspective. A fragment that looks ancient may have been young when it first slipped from its star. A world that appears simple may be the remnant of something once far more complex. And yet even within that mosaic, the object's stillness stands out. It carries no clear signature of recent change. No fresh breakage, no volatile release, no visible irregularities born from sudden events. Instead, it moves like a world that has had time to forget its storms. Objects shaped by such quiet usually have long and gentle histories. Histories written not in explosions, but in the endurance. This realization softened the tone of research. Instead of searching for dramatic beginnings, scientists began to explore the idea of a peaceful origin, a long migration shaped by cumulative forces rather than singular events. Such origins rarely reveal their details, but they leave impressions in density, in rotation, and in surface texture. Every measurement of 3I Atlas echoed that same impression, calmness shaped over ages. The more astronomers studied this visitor, the more they understood that not all origins must be spectacular. Some begin in soft regions of stellar nurseries or in quiet outskirts of planetary systems. Some begin in dust that coalesces, slowly forming worlds that drift long after their systems change. And some begin in ways we cannot yet imagine unfolding, not through violence, but through tranquil cosmic weather. In the end, the quiet truth persisted. The universe does not always reveal where a thing began. It offers fragments, hints, and soft alignments, inviting us to accept that uncertainty has its own beauty. Tonight, that beauty drifts across the sky in the form of a silent fragment from another dawn, and the stars keep their gentle silence. As 3I Atlas drifted beyond its solar encounter, astronomers found themselves reflecting more deeply on the role of distance in shaping understanding. Distance softens violence, dims light, and stretches time into quiet intervals. It also hides details, leaving only fragments of truth carried by photons, particles, and gentle gravitational signatures. Studying an interstellar visitor becomes an act of listening not to sound but to faint echoes of forces long faded from immediacy. The object's outbound motion reinforced this perspective. As it receded from the sun, its faint glow dimmed with predictable grace. Each night, the returning light weakened, requiring longer exposures and more patient observation. The object was not disappearing. It was simply returning to the natural state of most things in the universe, quiet, distant, and nearly beyond perception. Astronomy has always been the art of catching vanishing moments before they rejoin silence. Though the object grew dimmer, the data it left behind held clarity. Its path remained one of the cleanest hyperbolic arcs ever recorded, offering a rare opportunity to examine how interstellar bodies interact with the solar system. Even small deviations could reveal subtle forces, solar wind pressure, radiation drag, or gravitational resonance. Yet the path remained almost unchanged, as though the object had passed through the system without truly entering it. Sometimes the most meaningful encounters are the ones that leave no mark. As its light thinned, researchers revisited the earlier measurements, searching for patterns that might deepen the story. They found harmony in the data and a rotation stable across weeks, a brightness curve untouched by sudden change, a trajectory that refused to drift from expectation. Each element supported the same quiet conclusion. The object's behaviour reflected conditions not of chaos, but of long, settled order. Stability can be as instructive as anomaly. Photons arriving from the object now carried the gentlest of signatures. Their scatter suggested a surface still wrapped in fine dust that muted reflection. Their colour remained consistent, neither brightening nor reddening as the visitor retreated. This steadiness of light hinted that the object's surface was not changing in response to solar heating. Instead, it absorbed warmth and released it gradually like a stone cooled across centuries. Such behaviour affirmed earlier insights. This fragment was no longer a creature of ice, but of endurance. Astronomers considered the idea that its silence might be inherited. In the vastness between stars, most objects spend their lives unseen, shaped only by faint gravitational tides and the slow brushing of interstellar particles. If Atlas was born in such quiet, its calm passage here would simply reflect the conditions of its upbringing. Not every world is shaped by storms, some are shaped by the absence of them. This thought deepened the object's quiet dignity. Distance offered another truth perspective: change's meaning. When the object first appeared in observation logs, it seemed bright, sharp, and immediate. As it drifted away, researchers noticed how perception softened. The light that once revealed detail became gentle and minimal. This shift mirrored the way human memory treats the unfamiliar. Initial attention sharpens every contour, but time smooths each edge until only calm remains. In this way, distance becomes a form of understanding. Telescopes in the southern hemisphere continued to track the object longer than most their position, granting a slightly clearer angle as 3I Atlas faded into the outer regions. These instruments captured the last measurable reflections, faint arcs of light stretched thin by distance. Even in these last glimpses, the object maintained the same balanced rotation and the same soft spectral character, the same unbroken calm. Consistency across fading light becomes a kind of closing note. The gravitational influence of the solar system slowly weakened around the object. Models projected that within a few months it would reach a region where the sun's pull blended into the background gravity of the galaxy itself. Past that point, its path would be governed more by long-term stellar tides than by any local force. It would slip back into the quiet current of interstellar drift, leaving Earth with only a record of its passing, a line on a graph, a set of numbers, and a memory of wonder. As departure neared, some astronomers reflected on how rare such moments are. For most of human history, the idea of a visitor from another star belonged to speculation and story. Now, within a single decade, 2 such objects had crossed our sky. Rather than shock, this realization brought softness. The galaxy is more open than once imagined, and its quiet travelers more numerous. The cosmos does not hurry to reveal this. It simply allows glimpses when conditions align. Distance, however, ensures humility. The more the object receded, the more apparent it became that much of its truth would remain unreachable. Surface detail, exact composition, internal structure, and full origin would stay wrapped in silence. The universe does not promise clarity. It offers glimpses, moments of illumination framed by vast stretches of the unknown, and within that unknown lies the quiet beauty of astronomy, not in the answers, but in the gentle pursuit of them. By the time 3i Atlas reached the threshold where sunlight thins into interstellar dusk, its presence had become a whisper in the data. Observatories captured the final measurable photons, each one a soft farewell from a world that had no intention of being understood completely. Its silence was not refusal, but nature, an object shaped by distance, carried by distance, and now returning to distance. As the last plots appeared on screens and the final signals faded into background light, one truth held steady. Some visitors pass through our sky only to remind us how vast the quiet between stars truly is. Such reminders do not seek attention. They simply move as they always have, allowing us to learn from their passing and then accept their departure. Tonight the universe holds that acceptance with gentle patience, and the sky grows calm once more. Long after 3i Atlas had slipped beyond easy detection, its presence remained in the memory of instruments and in the slow reflection of scientific thought. A visitor may vanish from sight, but its passage leaves a subtle architecture behind data points, models, quiet revisions of understanding. In this way, astronomy is less the study of objects and more the study of the impressions they leave on our awareness. The universe often teaches by absence. Researchers revisited the earliest images, layering them against newer ones, tracing how the faint glimmer shifted night after night. Even as the signal weakened, it retained its elegance. No sudden deviations emerged, no hidden trails of dust, no signs of fragmentation. The object moved through the solar system like a soft line drawn across a page, clear, when fresh, fading slowly but never losing its shape. In the silence of this stability, a form of truth revealed itself. The shape of its fading arc reflected a principle known throughout celestial mechanics. Departure carries its own kind of beauty. Most bodies captured by our star linger in cycles, looping endlessly through familiar routes. An interstellar visitor, by contrast, does not repeat. It enters, moves, and leaves, offering only one chance to witness its passage. But that single arc becomes more meaningful because of its uniqueness. In every observation, there is a reminder that moments of encounter in the universe are often brief. As 3i Atlas retreated toward the outer regions where sunlight becomes thin, astronomers studied the gentle deceleration that accompanied its outward motion. The sun's pull still touched it, but lightly, like the final note of a chord stretching into silence. This lingering influence created a soft curvature in its path, barely perceptible, yet scientifically profound. It demonstrated how even distant bodies respond to the music of gravity, shaping their courses without resistance. During this time, the object offered one last lesson in reflectivity. Light echoed from its surface only faintly now, yet the spectral composition remained unchanged. No reddening, no brightening, no new signatures emerged. This consistency across distance suggested a surface stable enough to resist solar weathering. Many objects fade by changing colour as their materials interact with radiation. But 3 Atlas faded simply by moving away, holding its original tones, until distance claimed the signal entirely. Such constancy encouraged researchers to reconsider how they think about interstellar material. It is easy to imagine distant worlds as chaotic, shaped by violent tides or dramatic migrations. Yet this fragment exemplified another narrative, one of a long-term coherence. A body can travel for millions of years without losing the rhythm it began with. Patience becomes a structural quality. Endurance becomes identity. In this way, 3i's Atlas acted as a quiet ambassador for the many unseen objects that drift through space with similar silence. Simulations projected its future course with increasing clarity. Once it crossed the heliopause, the boundary where the sun's influence fades into the broader flow of the galaxy, it would join the slow tide of interstellar drift. Their gravitational patterns, subtly woven across thousands of light years, would shape its path. It would move not toward any destination, but simply onward, following the natural currents of the Milky Way. Its story from our perspective would end. From its perspective, it would simply continue. Astronomers often measure success in discovery through detail, precise composition, exact structure, documented evolution. But objects like 3i Atlas encourage another form of success comprehension, through acceptance. The universe rarely reveals complete narratives. It offers fragments, and those fragments invite interpretation grounded not in certainty but in humility. When an interstellar traveller slips beyond sight, what remains is not a solved puzzle, but a softened horizon of wonder. During the final months of observation, some researchers remarked on how the object's departure mirrored the fading of a thought. At first sharp, then gentle, then distant, each stage carried its own clarity. The initial excitement revealed the possibilities of science. The steady data revealed the patience of inquiry. The fading revealed the inevitability of limits. Every discipline, no matter how advanced, meets a point where detail dissolves into quiet. As the visitor approached the threshold of invisibility, its trajectory offered one more reflection. The line it drew across the solar system was a reminder that even brief encounters can reveal the architecture of celestial harmony. The sun shaped it slightly. Jupiter brushed its path. Dust scattered light across its surface. Every force interacted without collision, each contributing softly to the record left behind. In this sense, the object became part of the solar system's narrative, even as it left it behind. And when the final measurable photon returned from its surface, a faint shimmer captured on a sensor. In the pre-dawn hours, it marked not an ending, but a transition. From that moment forward, 3 Oumuamua Atlas became part of a different universe. Not the one we observe directly, but the one we remember and contemplate. It joined the quiet lineage of objects that passed through our system only once, offering just enough evidence to stir reflection before returning to the long spaces between stars. In the stillness that followed its departure, the solar system returned to familiar rhythms. Planets continued in their ellipses. Comets traced their icy loops. The sun pulsed with its slow magnetic heartbeat. Nothing had changed in motion, yet something had shifted in understanding. Moments like these remind us that the universe's lessons do not arrive through spectacle, but through quiet invitations to look more closely, think more gently, and accept more deeply. Tonight the sky holds that quiet invitation once more, and the silence feels complete. Long after 3I Atlas had vanished beyond measurable light, its presence continued to echo through the quiet work of researchers. An interstellar visitor may leave the sky quickly, but it lingers in the mind much longer. The universe has a way of offering brief encounters that reshape perspective without altering the physical world at all. What remained was not the object itself, but the stillness it carried, a reminder that even in vastness, subtlety endures. Scientists began to assemble the full timeline of its passage. Each observation, from the first faint detection to the last fading glimmer, formed a sequence of calm, consistent behaviour. No flares, no outbursts, no unexpected acceleration. The data felt like a slow exhalation, revealing a fragment that drifted not as a threat or anomaly, but as a quiet expression of interstellar continuity. Its simplicity became its meaning. This sense of continuity shaped the final analyses. Many expected early on that some hidden irregularity would emerge, a small plume, a rotational shift, the faintest dust release. Instead, they discovered the beauty of a stable world. Even in its departure, the object held to its gentle arc, following gravitational lines, with a composure that never faltered. This reliability became the most striking characteristic of its entire visit. Researchers compared its behaviour to the known catalogue of comets and asteroids searching for kinship. They found only partial echoes. Some comets matched its size, but not its silence. Some asteroids matched its density, but not its reflectivity. In the end, 3I Atlas did not fit comfortably into any category. It appeared as something shaped by conditions not entirely mirrored in our system, still natural, still understandable, but carrying a flavour of distant physics. Sometimes difference is not mystery, it is simply heritage. As the final sets of measurements were processed, questions that once felt urgent began to soften. The object's origin would remain uncertain, its detailed structure would remain unknown, but the value of the encounter did not depend on solving every unknown. In astronomy, some truths unfold not through clarity but through reflection. A fragment from another star can remind us that the galaxy is larger, quieter, and more interconnected than our senses typically allow. The heliosphere too reacted gently to its presence, As 3i Atlas drifted outward, instruments at the edge of the solar system recorded subtle shifts in particle flow normal responses to any object passing through, yet still meaningful in their precision. The visitor carried no magnetic field strong enough to disturb the plasma around it. It simply moved through the sun's extended atmosphere as a stone moves through a river acknowledged but not altered. Even the effect on human thinking carried quiet significance. For a brief season, telescopes across continents turned toward one point in the sky. Scientists, students, and quiet observers alike paused to consider a world that was not ours, shaped by a star we may never see. This collective stillness became part of the object's legacy. It drew a line of thought across the planet in the same way it traced a line of motion across the solar system. When the object finally crossed beyond the reach of standard instruments, astronomers relied on calculations rather than direct observation. These projections showed the shape of its future, a slow widening of its hyperbolic arc, a drifting ascent into the gentler gravity of the galaxy, and then centuries of quiet travel toward no particular destination. It would become again what it had been before entering our sky, one of countless wanderers moving between systems in a universe where silence is more common than speech. The closing discussions reflected a shift in perspective. No longer focused on anomaly or expectation, they turned toward appreciation. The passage of 3i Atlas became a reminder that the cosmos expresses itself not only through supernovae colliding galaxies and violent tides, but also through the quiet endurance of small, stable worlds. These modest travellers hold histories as long as any stars, even if they reveal those histories only through light curves and spectral shadows. Over time, papers were written, lectures given, and models refined. The data settled into the slow rhythm of a long-term memory in scientific archives. For future generations, 3i Atlas would appear not as an event, but as a calm footnote in the growing story of interstellar astronomy, a chapter defined not by disruption, but by gentle insight. A reminder that not all discoveries must astonish. Some simply allow us to breathe more slowly. And so the solar system continued on unchanged, yet subtly deepened by the encounter. Worlds followed their paths, the sun kept its steady pulse, and the sky resumed its familiar silence. But within that silence remained the faint outline of a visitor that asked for nothing altered, nothing, and yet expanded understanding. In its passing, it left behind a quiet truth the universe does not need to shout to be heard. Tonight that truth rests with the stars carried on the calm distance that once guided a drifting fragment through our light. Long after 3 Atlas slipped beyond measurable distance, its presence remained in the archives as a quiet thread of motion. No final flare marked its departure. No unexpected shift suggested unfinished stories. It simply continued on its path, steady and unhurried, leaving behind the soft impression of an object content to pass without demanding interpretation. In that stillness, the universe felt wider, patient in ways that invited reflection. The last frames captured by telescopes showed a dim object with a rhythm that never wavered. Analysts noted how remarkably consistent each observation had been. Its rotation held to the same gentle cadence. Its brightness drifted without urgency. Even the faint haze surrounding it behaved with a calm typical of ancient bodies shaped by long exposure to cosmic weather. Nothing contradicted the idea that this wanderer had travelled far before entering our light. As it moved through the outer heliosphere, the boundary where the sun's influence fades, the quiet deepened. Beyond that frontier, gravity becomes a broader conversation guided by the slow pull of the galaxy, rather than the familiar warmth of our star. 3i Atlas would no longer be part of the solar system's choreography. It would rejoin the wide current of interstellar debris fragments, flowing between stars like drifting seeds, carried by invisible winds. Spectral studies added soft detail to its story. The minerals suggested origins in environments older and more varied than those in our neighbourhood. Grains showed signs of radiation that accumulate only across immense spans of time. Tiny variations hinted at heat cycles unlike those found near the sun. These details did not solve the mystery of its birthplace, but they offered comfort. The object belonged to a larger pattern of cosmic migration. Hyperbolic motion, Once a source of fascination gradually settled into coherence, objects can be ejected from distant systems through collisions, stellar disruptions, or planetary scattering. Some wander for ages unbound by any star. 3i Atlas seemed to be one of those ancient travellers drifting until chance aligned its path with ours. Its visit required no special meaning. Its departure required no conclusion. Some celestial encounters simply begin and end in passing. Researchers found themselves returning to the same quiet realization. Not every answer arrives with clarity. Some knowledge forms slowly shaped by patience rather than certainty. Astronomy often teaches through absence, inviting acceptance rather than completion. As the object receded, scientists embraced the idea that understanding does not always demand resolution. Sometimes it asks only for attention. The object also softened assumptions about rarity. If something this large could pass relatively unnoticed until late in its approach, then the galaxy might send similar visitors more often than expected. The solar system may not be isolated, but part of a gentle exchange of materials drifting between stars. The idea brought a sense of connection rather than concern, suggesting that cosmic neighbourhoods overlap in ways we rarely perceive. As time passed, 3i Atlas settled into the role of a quiet reference point. Papers mentioned it without urgency, focusing on what its presence implied about interstellar populations. Its story became a guide for future observation rather than a puzzle demanding immediate solutions. The event matured from curiosity into perspective, showing how scientific understanding can evolve through calm reflection. Eventually, its light fell below detectable thresholds. Instruments recorded silence where once a faint glimmer had been. Yet this silence carried its own meaning. The object had completed its visible journey, leaving a record of stability, distance, and gentle motion. It asked nothing more from us than recognition of its passing. Now it drifts into regions where starlight thins and measurement becomes impossible. Still, its lesson remains clear. The universe does not always speak in brilliance. Often it communicates in soft patterns through objects that move without spectacle, carrying ancient histories in quiet trajectories. Tonight, that quiet feels like a reminder that vastness does not require explanation. It only asks to be witnessed with patience and ease. And now, as the last traces of 3i Atlas fade into the deep, the night grows quiet again. The story rests, but the sky does not. Somewhere beyond our reach, the currents of the galaxy continue their slow, patient work, carrying wanderers from star to star the way tides carry driftwood across an endless sea. Nothing rushes out there. Nothing is ever truly lost. Traveller, we have followed two visitors across an ocean of darkness tonight. One small one immense, one fleeing one still unfolding. Their paths crossed ours for only a breath of cosmic time, yet even that brief meeting reminded us how alive the universe remains even in its silence. The farther we look, the more we understand that mystery is not an absence of knowledge, but a presence we are still learning to hear. Perhaps that is the quiet gift of these interstellar messengers. They show us that wonder does not depend on certainty, that questions can be companions, that listening to the dark is its own form of discovery, and in their motion we recognize our own longing to understand where we came from and what waits beyond the light. So let the night settle around you now. Let the stars keep their slow vigil. Another story will arrive when the cosmos is ready to send it. Rest well, traveller. Stay curious. The universe will keep watch,